Hello, and welcome to the Forum on Nonviolent Communication and Empathy, sponsored by Black Women for Positive Change, moderated by Zhana of Black Women for Positive Change in the UK.
Welcome to this forum. This is a forum on nonviolence and empathy. It's also been called the Forum on Nonviolent Communication on Empathy, and it's also been called What Can Nonviolent Communication and Empathy Offer Us? So you can choose any one of those three titles because they all apply. Welcome, everybody. This is the first time I've ever held a forum like this. I'm a little nervous, but I'm okay. But let me introduce myself and my panelists. My name is Zhana. I'm the author of Success Strategies for Black People and Affirmations for Parents. And I am the host of the annual Blogging Carnival for Nonviolence. And I'm your host for this forum today. The annual Blogging Carnival for Nonviolence is part of the annual month of nonviolence, held by Black Women for Positive Change every October. They hold events all across the United States, as well as here in London, UK, every year, every October. I feel very privileged to be part of this work. Very, very privileged. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is asking the question, what can nonviolent communication, or NVC, and empathy offer us? I'm joined by my very special guests, my panelists. So I'm going to introduce each of my three guests who are on the panel today. Now, I'm not sure if Naima is actually with us yet, but I'm going to start with Andy. Andy Philpott is an experienced practitioner of nonviolent communication, or NVC. Welcome. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Jana. Appreciate that. And thank you for the invitation to the panel. Would you like some background information for me?
I would, yes, but what I'm going to do is first introduce the panelists, and then I would love some background information from you. So if we just hang on for a little bit, my next panelist is Michael Robinson, who currently lives in the Republic of South Korea. He's an administrative officer at Camp Humphreys Army Base. Michael serves as chairman of the 13th International District Fatherhood and Mentoring Committee of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here too. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Now I can see the participants now. I can't see everybody. I don't know. Can someone tell me, please? Has Naima come yet? Can you see her?
No, I don't see anyone with the name Naima.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure she's on her way. I don't know if she had problems again with the timing, but that's okay. We can get started. Okay, so Andy, let's start with you. What drew you to nonviolent communication?
Thank you. I was introduced by a friend 7 years ago who thought it would be of benefit to me as I was experiencing a lot of anger and emotional issues around a family matter. I was trying to offload a family property, and I had someone who disappeared and really left me in the lurch. And I was trying to process that anger and find ways to express it.
Okay, and did NVC help you with that?
It did. I find NVC to be a language of connection and.
Are you able to hear them?
Authenticity.
Oh.
Sorry, Andy, you were saying? Anybody who's not speaking right now, please, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, sorry, Andy, what were you saying? You found it as a language of connection and communication.
Language of connection and authenticity.
Right, right.
And I've also found that it's not always possible to maintain a connection with other people in the way that I'd like. And in
Right.
those moments, I've been able to express those unmet needs and have some self-compassion and to support myself in those moments. So self-compassion and empathy for myself, which I always hope enables me to connect to other people and to stay in connection when things get a bit tough.
Yeah, because self-connection always has to come first, doesn't it? Self-empathy. We can't really connect with another person empathically until we have self-empathy. Would you agree with that?
I would, and it's not always easy, that
Mm,
whole energy of being judgmental, blaming,
mm.
really angry that something maybe is impacted on me, and I want someone else to acknowledge that impact before I can really listen to them.
Yeah, but it doesn't always work that way because other people are not necessarily connected with us and our feelings and needs.
Yeah, yeah,
I would always,
and
no,
as
go
an
on.
empathy person, I feel sometimes I'm willing to do that lifting for myself and others.
Right,
Um,
right.
it can be a really good supportive framework.
Yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about NVC. I was doing a lot of NVC 20 years ago and haven't done as much since, but it just had a profound effect on me. And particularly in terms of self-esteem, self-love and self-esteem had a major effect on me. Now, we can come back to this if you like. I'd like to call on our next panelist, who's Michael Robinson. Welcome, welcome.
Yes. What drew me to this event, I have a strong passion for our youth. I don't have any children myself. Me and my wife, we don't have kids, but we feel every child is our child, and that's the way we look at it. You know, working in
Right.
the school system, you kind of like take on the kids as you're on.
And so you're fading you're fading a little bit. Your sound is fading a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can you hear me now, or do I
Yes,
need to
yes.
put a headset? Yes, I have a strong concern for our youth and family, friends, the community, and also the rural, you know, just seeing all of the things that's happening around us. I'm trying to find what can I do and what can I do with my community to help improve, you know, everything that's happening, everything that we see. So I've been doing a lot of soul searching, praying, and thinking about how the times were when I was young, you know, growing up. Martin Luther King Jr. was on the scene, and how he died, and how the society changed. You know, now our home structure is totally different. Our school system is totally different. And we're still changing, especially with the technology now. And I'm just, you know, trying to learn as I go. I'm learning a lot from the youth. They teach things every day that I'm not aware of. So it kind of keeps me on my toes. But this is helping me as a person. And in return, I'm using it to help the community.
Yeah, excellent. So what first attracted you to nonviolence?
Well, again, growing up in Alabama, my mom was very, very strict about nonviolence as a kid. So I could not get into a fight. I could not have a gun. There were certain things that we could play with and certain things that we could watch on TV. So growing up, you know, in that environment, it always placed in me, not to be a violent person, and then seeing, the civil rights movement taking place at the same time.
Yeah.
And now with all of the violence happening around us, and I'm looking at myself, I don't have a gun. I don't have, any physical thing to protect me, but my mom always taught me, to put your trust in the Lord, you pray, and with the hands of protection of God around you, no harm will come against you if you show yourself to be friendly. And, so I always try to carry myself in a positive light. When I'm talking to someone, I'm trying to truly understand and meet them where they are.
Right.
And not, be judgmental or anything like that. So I credit that to my upbringing, my grandparents, and the people that was in my community as a kid. Several older members were there. And now when I go back to that community, everyone's gone. So I remember how it was, and I'm trying to pass that on to the next generation.
Right.
Have that respect and to have peace with yourself, and to try and understand, the why and the impact the wrong decision can have, not only on yourself, but on your family and on others. And a lot of them, they don't see that, they don't hear it, and they only see one thing. And that one thing, most of the time, is money or a quick dollar. So I'm just trying to, change that mindset.
Good. Well, that's good. I'm going to come back to that because I'm very interested in your mentorship. In NVC, we have what's called jackal speech, and jackal speech is blaming, labeling, judging, or any kind of form of not able to do something, like we can't, or we shouldn't, or we ought to, or we ought not to. All of that is considered to be jackal speech, and jackal speech is speech that disconnects us. So what we're trying to do is have giraffe speech, which is language that connects us with ourselves and with others. But it's not that easy, not judging and blaming, because Marshall, who sort of invented NVC, says jackal language is our first language. So, and jackal language actually points to our unmet needs. I find jackals very, very beautiful because they're an expression of our needs. But it's kind of hard to not judge or blame. And those are kind of skills that we learn in NVC. And like you, I saw Dr. Martin Luther King on TV when I was growing up. I saw the civil rights movement when I was growing up. And to me, looking back on it now, I was very inspired at the time. But now when I look back at certain things, I think that actually wasn't nonviolence. Passive resistance is not actually the same as nonviolence, because they were very committed to being nonviolent, but that meant not hitting back when someone physically assaults you. And to me, putting yourself in harm's way, that's not nonviolence. It's violence. Putting yourself in harm's way when you know someone's going to beat you and try to kill you. So when I say I'm committed to nonviolence and nonviolent communication, I'm not talking about passive resistance. I'm talking about being creative in addressing violence and turning it into nonviolence. Now, I just got a text message from Naima saying she was joining us. Naima, are you there? Are you here? If you're here, unmute yourself, please. If not, we can move on. That's fine. Just let us know when you're here, okay? Put your hand up or something when you get here. My screen is frozen, so I can't actually see much. I can see a few of the users, the members of this talk today, but I can't see everybody and I can't see the chat, and it's really a drag. But we're being helped today by some people from Black Women for Positive Change, including Dr. Stephanie Myers, who is one of the main movers and shakers of Black Women for Positive Change, and also her colleague Hattie. And also, I think there's a gentleman here as well. Did any of you want to say a few words about the month of nonviolence? I'm inviting you to say a few words about the month of nonviolence. Stephanie,
Okay,
or
thank
anybody.
you. Thank you.
Oh, I
Yes,
can see you. I can see your face.
yes. We're just completing the 12th annual month of nonviolence, families, voter rights and opportunities. And we've had activities from different parts of the world. We had a global discussion about how to build a culture of violence that included Brother Robinson from South Korea and people from Kenya, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Scotland, Cuba, Jamaica, and the United States.
That's wonderful.
We've had a nonviolence march down in Birmingham, Alabama.
Really?
Yes, and it
Wow.
also included a forum with representatives from the court system and teenagers and elected officials. And like Brother Robinson said, you learn something from the young people every day.
Right.
And that's absolutely been the case. We had a forum on maternal health and preeclampsia
Oh,
and the whole issue of
excellent.
domestic violence
Yeah.
and how women who are pregnant are often put into violent circumstances with their mate, and also they have a hard time getting medical care. So it's very, very important. We're going to be putting up the videos of the sessions, including this session, on YouTube.
Excellent.
So if you're not on our list already, be sure to put your email in the chat so you can be informed about future activities and you can listen to the videos. And just one other point, as I said, it's the month of nonviolence, families, voters' rights, and opportunities. We believe that we must keep the positive pathway going in people's lives and not just focus on violence. So the whole issue of opportunities was discussed in a terrific workshop on artificial intelligence. Okay. And that workshop will also have the video, the audio present that you can listen to it. But artificial intelligence is affecting our lives right now.
Yes.
We hope that these robots won't be carrying weapons, but we don't know what impact that might have on violence. But it's something we need to be on top of and start regulating how artificial intelligence affects our lives. One of the speakers talked about facial recognition, and they're already finding racial bias.
Yes.
Facial recognition technology. So this is something we have to get on top of with the local police departments in our cities and make sure they aren't going and arresting somebody because the AI said that that person committed a crime and they may be innocent. So this is a new risk that we're facing. So thank you so much. We appreciate your leadership, Zhana. You've been doing this for several years. We appreciate the United Kingdom's role in the month of nonviolence and all that you do with your writing and your radio shows and your blogging. So thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Myers. That was brilliant. It's so inspiring. The work that you're doing is just so inspiring. And you're inspiring people all over, as you said, all these different places, all over Africa, in Cuba. And yeah, carry on. Keep up the good work because it's brilliant. Okay, I've got some questions now for my panelists. And I'm going to say, anyone who wants to make raise a question or make a comment, can you please hold off on that for now? Because I want to speak to my wonderful, amazing panelists first. But later on, I'm going to want to hear from the audience. So you'll be invited to make comments or ask questions if you want to. You can also put stuff in the chat, but bear in mind, I can't actually get the chat at the moment because my screen is frozen. I'm just really happy I was able to get on here today because it was kind of touch and go for a while, but here we are. Okay. My first question is for everybody. Tell us about your use of nonviolence, giving specific examples. Andy, I know that you talked a little bit about dealing with your family stuff, and it was triggering you with a lot of anger. So what turned that around for you?
So the anger around was doing some group work with some other NVC trainers on the origins of the anger that was really taking me over. And anger's great energy to have. It's really good at allowing you to do things in the short term. And I was finding that it takes the joy out of your life as well. It's really hard to see and hear other people and to be able to reach out and feel connected and in community. But anger really gave me a lot of energy to carry on. Even if it meant I was holding a bit of a grudge and blaming family members for perceived wrongs. And instead of seeing that they had needs as well and their strategies for meeting their needs, maybe it was, okay, I'll kind of take advantage of Andy in this moment because it helps me to get what I want there.
Right.
And there were children involved as well. So I do
really?
appreciate, well, to take care of my family, I will do what I think I must do, whatever the cost.
Right. So you're finding anger very motivating.
I think so in the short term. Over time, it can be consuming, and it's hard to get out of that mindset and embedded in my body feeling of always being tense. I think it helps tune into what's going on in my body to be able to make some empathy guesses for myself on what's going on and being able to really pinpoint the nature of it, and then I can get to work.
Wonderful. So do you still find the anger is motivating now?
I do. I've worked as an activist, particularly with climate groups for nonviolent direct action. I've trained that, embedding nonviolence and nonviolence and de-escalation. So when I'm maybe face to face with someone who doesn't agree with me, and in London it might be a taxi driver, they've blocked a road for a march or a protest. It's been able to go literally toe to toe, stand very close to them, look them in the eye, and really being able to fully listen to what's going on for them, even if they're really supercharged and angry. And then being able to bring it down a bit to a point where we can communicate.
So give us what I want to know is when you're standing toe to toe with someone and they're angry, are you also angry at that moment?
I'm not. I try to have a container and some capacity to stay grounded and calm, or I would match their energy. That's really important to match the energy that they're expressing, that they're upset, they're frustrated, and they really want that to be acknowledged. And when that moment happens, if it does happen, doesn't always, then there's a bit of a breakthrough. And you can start asking questions and guessing what's going on for them. Check if they're willing to listen to you.
So tell me something. You mentioned an empathy guess. What exactly is an empathy guess?
Well, for example, it might be them saying, I'm really mad and frustrated. I wanted to get to school and drop my kid off. And you stopped me getting there. And it's just saying, look, are you really upset by this? You wanted to make sure your child could get there on time, and I've stopped you, and you don't know what to do, and you're mad. Is that right? And checking in with that person, that is right. It's not assuming what's going on for them. It's checking in with them and seeing if something resonates.
Right. And if you're right, then they'll tell you that you're right. And if you're wrong, they'll tell you that, no, that's not what I'm angry about. I'm angry about something else.
Yeah. And just that curiosity about what's going on for you can hold their attention for a few moments to have this dialogue.
Yeah. And do you find that works, that people are more responsive to you?
I do. We don't always get a space where people are willing to listen to us, particularly when we're charged. So when it comes up, it's quite precious. If you have the capacity to do that, it's quite a precious thing to offer someone, to fully listen to them and be willing to be empathic and to want to know what's going on for them.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that, Andy. I'm going to turn to Michael again. Can you explain, please, what does it mean to be a mentor? What is your role and what do you do?
As a mentor, I basically train youth, not only the youth, but the mentors in different areas. So we have a program with the fraternity, but every chapter has their own program. So basically my role is to make sure that all the chapters in the 13th district are doing the basic requirements for the mentoring program on the international level. Because we are in different locations in different states and different countries, it's very, very hard to make everything the same. And being in the States, in the United States, there's government funds, funding from the state. There's funding from federal government. And we're trying to get that overseas to the chapters that, you know, are outside of the United States. So a lot of different similarities, but we have basic guidelines that we must meet. And this year, we finally became a mandated program. Mentoring's been going on for a long time, but it wasn't required. It was just something that some brothers took on and did. And now it's mandatory for every chapter in Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated to have a mentoring program.
Right, okay.
And
tell
now
me
we're
some of the basics. Sorry to interrupt you, Michael. Tell me some of the basics, because you said you have certain things that, certain criteria that have to be met.
first thing is for the mentees, we're looking at the 13 to 21-year-olds. First-time dads fall in this category. You know, a teenager, the conversation is totally different from someone that's in elementary school.
Right.
So we have to have a schedule of events and topics to each category of youth. So you won't be talking to an elementary school student the same way you will be talking to a high school senior. It won't work. So we make sure everyone understands, you know.
I'm sorry, did you just go away from the mic a little bit?
Yeah.
Hello, Michael, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear the last thing that you said. Can you repeat?
I was saying you must make sure that your program is tailored for the students. If there's a high school senior, the conversation will be totally different if it was an elementary school student.
Thank you, Baba Kwame Sunhorse. We just lost the audio from the mentoring is a humanistic education. Yes, rites of passage.
Can you hear me now?
Kwame Sunhorse in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think
Thank
they can hear
you for sharing.
I think they can hear you now.
Yeah, we can. Anybody who wants to make a comment or ask a question, you're very welcome to do so later on in the show. And I will say when, if you put your hand up, hopefully one of my lovely friends who are operating Zoom right now will let me know, because my screen is still frozen. Never mind. I always say this, technology is a wonderful thing, you know, it's supposed to make our lives easier. Doesn't always work that way. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna come back to you, Michael, in a little bit, but I just wanna welcome Naima, who's the third panelist on today. Naima, are you there? I don't hear you. Are you on? Naima says that she is.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, hi, Naima, welcome. Yeah, Naima says that she's broadcasting simultaneously on Blog Talk, on the Female Solution, and on the YouTube and Facebook channel. So just to let everybody know, Naima is also recording this and she's broadcasting this. So welcome, Naima.
Yes,
Naima?
welcome to everybody. And I don't know if you can hear our female solution host, Zelda, who was speaking earlier. I'm not sure because I don't know if my audio is picking up both channels. But
It is now. I had
okay.
accidentally kicked you out, so now you're back in. So yeah,
Okay.
Okay, good, good. So
Can see
Naima,
and hear you.
welcome.
because you're on Zoom and StreamYard.
Right.
So I just want to say hi to Zhana and all the guests here on the platform. We did a show prior to this, and so it's just continuing from
Okay,
the
lovely.
Virtual Talent Content
Yes.
on the Higher Learning Network.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Okay, Zelda, as I said, anybody who wants to make a comment or raise a question, can you hold off on that for a little while, please? But welcome to the show. Naima is the third panelist today. She is the executive producer of the Female Solution Worldwide Radio and TV Network, which means she's the executive producer of my show, the Success Strategy Show, which I do monthly on the second Saturday of every month on the Female Solution. The Female Solution is also on YouTube and on Facebook. And Naima is also the founder of Parenting with Peace. So Naima, can you talk to us a little bit about Parenting with Peace? What exactly is Parenting with Peace?
And there's a caller on the switchboard, Naima.
Okay, so when Jana says it's time for comments, we'll bring them on. And I definitely want to share with our participants about Parenting with Peace. This is a new way of teaching our children. It was said earlier about how people tend to respond with the pain that they have experienced. And so even in trying to communicate non-violently, it's challenging because people are remembering the experience that they had as children that was not nonviolent. It was very painful. It was hurtful. We raise our children with the idea that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
So they learn to be defensive because they're always trying to prevent an attack.
Yeah.
So Parenting with Peace is really a relearning of how to raise our children without making them feel like there's something defective about them. And it begins even before the process of conception, of really examining ourselves and see where our unhealed childhood wounds are so that we're not passing them on to our children.
Yeah.
We must know that we are perfect just as we are, and so are they. They're coming into this physical life experience, and the way we welcome them and the way we respond to them will determine how well they're able to see themselves as perfect and not defective and not always having to defend themselves against an attack. Right. So, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, the difference between being passive resistance and nonviolence. Because passive resistance was actually meant to provoke the person to do the violent act that they've been doing so that it could be exposed and people could see where the violence was coming from. But that is, like you pointed out, it's violent because you're actually, you're experiencing violence. Yes. And what we're doing with Parenting with Peace is removing all violence, all violent responses verbally and physically, and replacing it with an understanding that we are here to guide our children through this earth experience by teaching them empathy so that they choose to do acts of kindness and service and help to others because they understand the principle of oneness. We're all part of one life system, and what you do to another, you're doing to yourself. So right. Another, you're hurting yourself. So being able
exactly. You can't be unkind or harmful to someone else.
Absolutely.
Without experiencing the effects of that yourself.
Absolutely. So that's what we teach with Parenting with Peace, so that our children aren't responding out of fear of punishment, but they're responding out of love. That has to be the foundation for their existence and for all of their actions, not fear that they're going to be punished or shamed or or humiliated or beaten or any of those things, but out of love for their fellow beings who they understand are part of who they are.
Yeah, we're all interconnected. Everyone and everything is interconnected. So I think that sounds really beautiful. And so is this an education program for parents?
This is an education for parents and parents to be. So
Right.
we're launching this and of course in December we'll be launching this parenting class and presenting it to those who are currently parents, as well as those who are evolving into puberty and will soon become parents, so that they can develop a different mindset, even about the act of procreation, understanding that all of this is impacting others and not just themselves, but the entire world. If you're
Yes.
bringing forth
Yes.
life,
Yes.
changing the dynamics of your family and every life that you touch
Yes.
with act.
Yes.
So even
agree
that
with
has
that.
to be done with empathy and understanding that you're involving not just yourself, but everyone else.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that. I find it really inspiring and totally true. That everything we do, we don't realize, but everything we do has an impact on us and also on others. So if we can be mindful about promoting peace and nonviolence, that can have a real effect in the world. And it starts in the home, does it not?
Absolutely. That's where everything starts. And when we can bring forth peaceful people out of our homes, then we'll see the change in our environment. That's more powerful than protest marches and petitions and all of that. And not to say, I'm not saying that those things don't matter, but
Right.
if you change what's inside the person, then you remove the problem that the person created because of what was inside of them.
Well, yeah, well, like Andy was talking a little while ago about having a lot of anger inside of him. I have a lot of anger inside of me. But when I was doing a lot of MVC, it just shifted. The anger would just go away. It would just dissipate. It was amazing. It would just dissolve and disappear. And I would feel happier and calmer. And then one day I was walking down the street, I blogged about this. I was walking down the street and I was waiting at a corner for the lights to change. And I could hear this voice in my head going, "You're so stupid. You're so stupid." And I didn't even realize up till that moment that that was the message I was giving myself.
Yes.
And apparently that's quite commonplace in VC. If you do a lot of it, you start becoming aware of how negative and destructive you are towards yourself.
Yes.
That definitely happened to me. And, you know, I've internalized those messages for years and years and years. And I've been telling myself those things unconsciously for many, many years. So all that stuff is in there until we heal. I just think healing is so important because all those patterns, all those habits, mental habits that we have, most of them are unconscious. We're not even aware of them.
Right. And you think of how what you tell yourself, you're drawing that to yourself. If
That's
you're
right.
feeling like I'm so stupid, you're going to draw to you people who treat you like you're so stupid.
Exactly. Exactly. We're going to become a magnet to those kind of people, which is not really what we want. But it gives us an opportunity to practice. And we say
Yes.
it gives us an opportunity to practice empathy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask all three of you now. Which of the blog posts in this year's Blogging Carnival for Nonviolence particularly stood out for you? And what is your response to it? Because I've been doing this for 10 years ago, as Dr. Myers said earlier. This is the 10th anniversary of the Blogging Carnival for Nonviolence, which is part of the month of nonviolence, which is held every year by Black Women for Positive Change. And I just think the work they're doing is fantastic and it's wonderful to be a part of it. So I'm going to ask all three of you, which of the blog posts stood out for you? They could be from this year, it could be from previous years. We've had blogs about domestic violence. We've had blogs about recent events in London. What are your thoughts?
Trying to think of, because and in all fairness, I haven't had a chance to see all of them.
Okay.
But I think there are many who are impacted by what they're seeing in terms of wars overseas and
feelings of empathy for people on both sides.
Mm.
But one thing that I think that if we're feeling bad about what we're seeing, one thing that we have to always remind ourselves is that everybody is here on their own free will, and the people in those areas, they have the power to choose to stop doing that.
Right.
They are choosing not to stop.
Mm.
There's nothing stopping anyone from choosing to share land, choosing to share resources, choosing to be kind. There's nothing stopping anybody. If they choose to not be peaceful, then they're experiencing the consequences of their choices. There really are no victims in this world.
Mm.
Everybody is experiencing the consequences of their own choices. So the more we add to the collective mind that permeates the entire globe of being peaceful internally, the more we can actually empower people, even people at a distance, to make the choice to be peaceful.
It's true, it's true. Although I think that we're largely ruled by the unconscious mind. We
Yeah.
don't really have a choice a lot of the times, but we can change our behavior. And that will change who we are.
Yes.
We can
Changing
make
the thoughts
decisions.
changes the behavior. As you've said, you know, if you're thinking I'm stupid, well, that's going to make you feel resentful of other people.
Mm.
And all the behaviors that come with that. But if you're thinking I'm wonderful, then you don't have a problem being kind to other people, because you're not resenting them, feeling like, you know, they think they're better than me. Because all the negative self-talk is reflected in the way we treat other people.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And the way we treat ourselves,
And the way we treat
which
others.
is where it started. Okay, Andy and Michael, can you talk please a bit about which of the blogs particularly stood out for you from this year or previous years? It's up to you.
I could go next.
Yeah, go
Yeah, I read the story about Eliane, this girl in South London
ahead.
who sadly lost her life trying to intercede for a friend who maybe she thought was being bullied. And it went badly for her. She was trying to protect a friend and got stabbed.
Yeah.
Very tragic and awful thing for her and her family and everyone there impacted by it to experience. And I was reflecting upon this and the young man who committed this as well, this act. There's a lot of embedded systemic issues that we take on, and even if there's trauma in our own lives and the attachment patterns that we have growing up, which comes from our parents, and it even skips generations and becomes intergenerational, it gets passed on sometimes. As awful and tragic as these things can be, something you said, Zhana, it's we can always begin to heal from it now.
Yeah.
However tragic it is, however much it's overwhelming. And I like the framework of NVC to begin to do this work through in self-compassion. And if it isn't acknowledged, it can express itself very much in an agitated and violent way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this really brought that to life for me.
Yeah, we're talking about, I did 2 blogs about Eliane, who's a 15-year-old girl who was stabbed to death on a bus on the way to school by a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I said about this is something went wrong in this child's life. How could you get on the bus and stab someone to death on the way to school? What was going through his mind when he was doing that? And something was missed there. And, you know, these things are very, very serious. You know, going back to parenting with peace, something was missed there by his parents or his carers or somebody. For him to feel at the age of 17 that he could just get on a bus and kill somebody, you know, what on earth was going on there? What on earth was going on there? Something was definitely missed.
What was happening in his life? What
Yeah,
was
exactly.
home life?
Exactly.
A lot of times we don't see what's happening on the inside of a person because maybe the physical house they're living in is nice, well manicured lawn and all of that, but you don't know the emotional damage they might be going through inside that home.
Exactly.
Get up and go to work every day, look normal and everything else, but the way we talk to our children is killing them. And the expressions of violence that they put out to the world is a reflection of what we put inside of them. And we have to take responsibility for this, because what we're putting in them is what's inside of us.
Yes.
The self-hate, the self-condemnation.
Yes. Yes.
It's expressed to the children internalize it, and then they express it to the world. That's where this violence comes from.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. And particularly for people of African heritage, I know people experience trauma in every community, everywhere, all over the world. There is a particular type of trauma which we, as people of African heritage, experience. And I know you've written about African American psychic trauma. I meant to mention that before. But yeah, you're also going to have a chapter in my new edition of Success Strategies for Black People, which is coming out probably early next year. So can you say a little bit about African American psychic trauma, please?
Well, one of the things my husband, who's co-author, and I had talked about was that there is lingering emotional trauma that we keep experiencing each generation because the parents who raised us have not healed from their trauma. And so the slave experience was several decades ago, more than a century ago. We're still passing down feelings of self-contempt that get reinforced by the society we're in. And the way to stop the cycle is to heal ourselves in this generation of the trauma. We have to take responsibility for removing these things that have been ingrained. And that doesn't mean blaming other people or having other people be responsible for changing something in them. We must do a self-examination. So the book starts out with a 20 questionnaire, 20 questions, a 20 question test to things to ask oneself about how we respond in certain situations. And then throughout the book, we explain what experiences may have caused those responses. And the responses basically point to the negative programming that we're receiving from our parents, from the society. And we have to undo that. Everything from feeling fearful in the presence of a white person in authority, say a police officer or whatever, or to feeling embarrassed if someone who is perhaps uneducated appears on television and you're feeling somehow they've embarrassed you. You know, even that, little things like that we think are normal responses that are not.
Right.
Indication that we've ingested the idea that there's something defective about us.
Yeah. We were told that for so many generations.
So we have to stop telling ourselves that.
Yes.
And this doesn't, you say in the book, it doesn't require someone else to change. We have to change. It doesn't require, writing to the government, writing anybody or petitioning anybody. Nobody needs to give you permission. You have to examine yourself and stop telling yourself these things that are untrue about yourself.
Yeah.
That you stop projecting that self-contempt at other people.
Yeah, you're speaking a lot of sense, Naima. You're speaking a lot of sense, and I'm really looking forward to having your chapter in my book when the book comes out. Okay, who we got left? Michael. Now, Naima and Michael, you really need to connect because Michael's based in South Korea.
Oh, fantastic.
And Naima, I know you've had some very strong experiences at HWPL in South Korea, but I'd like to hear a bit from Michael, please, about which of the blog posts particularly stood out for you.
Yes, the one where Andy was talking about, it stood out to me too. But the other one was about domestic violence, about the young lady, name was Arlene. She was talking about how she would never going to be loved again. That kind of, stuck with me because growing up, the neighborhood I was in, the men would have their drink on the weekend and everything would just go haywire, crazy, off the chain, stuff happening all over the place, and
Mm.
wives, being beaten. And my mom said, you don't want to be like that when you grow up. Please promise me that you won't be like them. So, and I held my promise to my mom all the way up. Never hitting a woman or wanted to hit a woman or my sisters, my aunts. I have mass respect for women, and I love them, each woman, just like they were my own sisters. And that wasn't occurring, at that time. I really related to what she was feeling because, back in the day, being separated and divorced, that wasn't really accepted at that time. And domestic violence, wasn't really punishable like it is now.
Yeah.
But today, even this month, we're celebrating Domestic Violence Month. Well, observing Domestic Violence Month, rather. And just think about all of the money our nation is spending on domestic violence. It's in the billions. I think it's like $12 billion. I was reading an article. That is a lot of money for a misunderstanding. And like you said, going back to the home structure, if everyone was on the same page, if everyone was loved and cared for and nourishing, and just the golden rule was in place, doing unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Just the little simple things that we've gotten away from. That's what really, touched me, thinking about, that point.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Yeah, we also have a blog from Mercy. I'll drop you the link, Michael. Mercy was a young woman who was married in Nigeria to a man who was the same age as her father, and he was beating her. And she managed to escape from that situation, and now she helps other women escape from domestic violence and, set up new lives for themselves. Because it can't be easy, especially since there's a lot of societal pressure still. Technically, it is illegal. Domestic violence is illegal, but it still happens, and it's not always prosecuted. It's not always handled as a crime, which is what it is. So yeah, you've raised important issues.
You got a hand.
Donna?
Hi.
Yes, can I make a remark?
Please, yes.
Okay.
This is Dr. Stephanie Myers.
Yes, one of the themes that we have is to change the culture of violence. And it's not just people of color who have to change. We have to change the whole world. Now, Andy, did I hear you say you thought that anger gave people a lot of energy?
Correct. It's very sustaining, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, but you made some reference to energy creating excitement or anger did create a lot of, well, that's very interesting. I hadn't heard that comment before. That's very interesting. And people might enjoy being angry if it does give them that sort of feeling. So that's something we need to deal with.
Yeah.
One of the other issues is the people who came to America in particular witnessed the genocide of the Native Americans, participated in it, witnessed the enslavement of the Africans, participated in it. And then we had hundreds of thousands of people from Europe who came in as indentures. And the indentured servants aren't talked about very much, but a lot of the indentures were treated very badly also. They were overseers over African people who were enslaved. They were taught to be very violent. I think they're the backbone of law enforcement. So when we talk about change, we don't want to leave them out, because I feel that the descendants of indentures have not been told by their parents that great-great-great-granddaddy came here with nothing in his pocket.
Right.
And he was kind of told that he was privileged over the people of color, and that it was his destiny to come here and to have opportunity. So that person might be angry now when they see Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and all these people succeeding. So my question to the panel would be, how do we get people to realize that the entitlement that they believe that their family was given, land grants and indentured money after the 7 years that they were indentured, how do we get them to see that that's just not the way it was supposed to be? That they weren't supposed to just come over here and get 500 acres of land and other people would be working for free and get nothing.
And people were killed. People who that land belonged to were killed so that the land could be taken away from them.
Native Americans, yes.
Yeah, there's a film out now called Killers of the Flower Moon, I think. And it's about one family of Native Americans who were very, very wealthy, and loads of people who were not Native Americans, who presumably were Europeans, white people, taking the money away from them, swindling them out of it, marrying into their family so that they could inherit, and poisoning people. There was one woman, for example, who was under the care of her doctor, and her doctor was poisoning her. And as soon as she got away from him, her health started to improve immediately. And this is just one family of one group of people. There might be more than one family, but it's one group of people whose land, others are trying to steal their land. And yeah, you're right, it is an untold story to a certain extent. Which moves me on to my next topic, which is to do with the world, really. And I really am heartbroken. I am heartbroken. I'm so upset about what's happening in Palestine at the moment. And I don't understand why it's happening. And turn on the news every night and find out how many people have been killed. And it's just so upsetting. And then there's the situation in Ukraine where President Zelensky is telling us that we're already in World War III, right? We're already in a world war, and we just have to wake up and smell the Third World War, basically. Wake up and realize and understand that we're already in a war. And I'm terrified, and I am so upset and heartbroken, and I don't understand. I am confused. So I think the most important thing we can do is keep using practices like NVC to promote peace and nonviolence. And that's a practical thing that we can all do. Learn more about NVC and practice NVC. And I'd like to know your thoughts, because we can talk about what's happening in the United States. We can talk about what's happening in South London with children killing each other. And one of those blog posts, I actually put in a blog post, I learned about another killing of a young person while I was writing the blog. So, we can talk about it in our homes, in our communities, in our countries, and on our planet. There's so much violence and suffering going on at the moment. It really does break my heart. And I'd like to know your thoughts. And anyone who would like to make a comment or raise a question at this point, including, all of our lovely listeners and viewers, please put your hand up. If someone can please moderate this part, either Dr. Myers or someone who's with you, because I still can't see the chat. I'm sorry, but I just have to laugh because, technology just gives us all these new challenges that we have to deal with. But yeah, anyone who would like to make a comment or raise a question, I'm sure that you're heartbroken as well, looking at what's going on in the world at the moment.
Michael has his hand up.
Great, okay. Can someone, unmute yourself, please, Michael.
Yes, I think the main reason why these things are happening around the world is just the evil spirit. It could be greed, it could be money, but it still goes back to a spirit that's just among us. In some places where there was no violence in the past, now there is violence. Where did it come from? How did it arise? And I think we've moved away from our Heavenly Father so far that now that spirit is broken and that evil has came in. And how can we get through this? It's going to take us coming back together as a people, as a church, and prayers not only prayers, but we have to work together.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us, where two or more gathers, we need everyone to gather and be on the same accord. Everyone is trying to do a little bit over here, a little bit over there. And whenever you start trying to help the poor, seems like someone is taken out. It happened to Martin Luther King when he started the Poor People's Campaign, helping the poor, they took him out. When John F. Kennedy reached out and started helping us, African Americans, they took him out. And the list just keeps going on and on. But we need to help each other, and we need to just pull together. The Bible tells us about wars and rumors of wars, and we read the chapter of Revelations, and we can see all of these things happening today, and it's already there for us. God has already told us these things will come, and we just need to go back to him and, rededicate ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. Not everybody believes in God. I'm a Buddhist and I don't worship any God, but I think that we can turn to our spiritual traditions for guidance. And what I'm more concerned about, to be honest, is practical things that we can do. And sometimes that spiritual commitment motivates us to do the practical work that we need to do. So, and inspires us to do that practical work. So thank you very much for that, Michael. I see Anne's got her hand up.
Yes, I do. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
I'm
welcome.
enjoying this panel very much. And I just have a couple of things to say. First of all, Dr. Myers was talking about the history of the United States and the fact that Europeans came over here as indentured servants, and they're not, the descendants of these people are not telling their children how they came, how their parents and their grandparents first came to the United States. And she mentioned that they are expected to receive land and money as servants eventually. I don't think that people are telling their children that they expected money and land and all of that. They're telling their children that they came over here with nothing and that they, through their own hard work, became successful, that the government didn't help them in any way. They pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps. And that's what they're telling their kids. And I think that may be one of the reasons that people are so annoyed and resentful of other people, of people of color who are trying to become successful themselves. And
we didn't get any government handouts, so you shouldn't have any either. That kind of
yeah, they're forgetting that they did have government handouts. They don't talk about that to their kids.
That's right, land grants.
Right, but they don't say that to their kids. See, and the second thing that I wanted to talk about was, what Zhana would mention, the Killers of the Flower Moon. I have not seen the film, but I have read about the book. I bought the book. I haven't read it yet, but evidently, from what I understand, it wasn't just one Osage family that was killed off. It was several. Because the Osages had a lot of land. They discovered oil on their land. And so white people wanted to take that land away from them. So they did it not just to one family, but to several families. And in many cases, white men married into the Osage families and killed their wives so that they could inherit the land from their wives. I understand that this is what the book is about. I don't know if the movie says that, but as I say, I haven't read the book yet.
Yeah, the movie apparently, thank you for that, Anne. The
mhm,
movie apparently focused on one relationship, and the wife refused to admit for many years that her husband had tried to kill her and their son. And she was presented with so much evidence that she had to acknowledge it. But apparently she kept saying, no, he would never do that. He's a lovely man. He would never do that. Yeah, so there's a lot of denial, which I guess is understandable, really. You don't want to acknowledge that your husband is trying to kill you and your child. I
of
mean,
course,
I guess.
yeah, yeah.
I guess, but yeah, a lot of stuff went on, and there were a lot of people. I meant to interject before. There was people who came from Britain and they had nothing. They were penniless, and they went to the Caribbean or to the fledgling United States to work as overseers. The overseers, as I'm sure you know, were the ones who did the brutality. You know, they were the worst people on the plantation. They were the ones who did the brutality, and they came back to Britain a few years later with their pockets bursting from all the gold that they had. They had made fortunes. And there's quite a few, we're talking about the sort of mid 18th century. There's families that have been extremely wealthy in this country since then, entirely because of the inherited wealth from working on the plantations.
That's right.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. But as I said, there's many, many different people and communities all over the world who have suffered and who are suffering now. And, I think as
Very true.
American
Very
people,
true.
as people of African heritage, we have a particular form of suffering. We have a particular experience. But, people all over the world are suffering in different ways. And,
Zhana,
no, go for it. Go for it.
Zhana, one of the things that I think would be helpful, even though I don't know how to relate this, but I know in South Africa they had a Truth and Reconciliation Council, that kind of helped address the wrong so that both sides could heal. And it's difficult for us in nation where it hasn't been acknowledged, because particularly here in America, there's a lot of resistance to even talking about it in school, because they feel like the white children are going to be made to feel guilty or shamed. But that's not the issue. The issue is I think if we did it the right way, we can use it as a teaching tool.
Yeah.
Much as we use anything else to teach, whether it's the biblical scriptures or the scriptures of the Holy Quran or whatever the case is, this is what we did to each other. These things were good. We should continue. These things were not good. We should discontinue, never do them again. I think if we have a standard of humanity, and we can look at human history and look at when that standard was violated, and we can make a decision and a pledge to not repeat those things, then we can forever let it go. We have to get to the point where we let it go. We can't keep and I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it, but I understand those who are feeling like, look, how long are you going to beat us over the head for slavery? I wasn't there. My people immigrated here to America in 1920. I happen to be white. Why am I still carrying the guilt of this? I wasn't part of that. So I can understand why you feel that way, because they weren't part of it. And even Blacks who may have not really suffered in these last generations economically, and maybe they've gained great success, can they still be carrying feelings of, oh, you people owe us something? Because at some point we have to look at the past as the past. This is what we did to each other that we should not have done. Let us not do this anymore. And then let us start off new and not keep going back and rekindling that old pain. At some point, we have to collectively choose to do that, because you can't make it not have happened. So let's acknowledge that it happened, but let's choose to move forward and not keep rehashing it and keep making people who really were not responsible for it feel like they should suffer.
But the problem with that, Naima, and yes,
that's not. We have to find a way to solve.
But the problem with that is that we're still suffering the consequences.
Right,
And,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's still carrying on. The things that happened in the past are still happening today.
that's the problem.
Yeah,
And how do we stop?
And I don't think that
pattern?
we're talking about history in order to make people feel guilty. We're talking about history so that we don't repeat it. That's how I feel, so that they know what happened. That's all.
There's a lot of denial. I think there's a lot of denial that the fact that white people today are still benefiting from certain institutions.
Exactly.
Even if they didn't come to the United States until 1920 something or 1950 something or whatever, they're still benefiting from certain institutions which are still oppressing us as African American people.
So
they want to pretend that everything was wonderful and we have the same opportunities that they
that
do.
happened as a result of how we're teaching our children.
Would you repeat that, please?
You're kind of fading in and out, Naima.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to fix. We lost the video. For our YouTube channels, we're trying to get that back. I had to change devices, so if there's some technical issue that could be why we're still.
Yeah.
But one of the things that keeps happening is the incorrect thought that there's enough for everybody. The idea that we're in competition with each other. And this is a global misperception, which is why we keep recreating these same oppressive systems. There's enough land, enough food for everybody if we work the land properly and don't.
That's true. You're right.
Enough for everybody, so nobody needs to be neglected or excluded. And when we think that way, then not only are we not at each other's throats or in conflict as people of different colors on one continent, but globally.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So nobody's an enemy of anybody. We have enough to share, to interact, to enrich everybody. That has to be what we teach our children, which is part of parenting with peace. To prepare these children to create that kind of world, because we're no longer teaching them that they're here to compete with no enemies.
Yeah, Mickey Cashtan.
Earth is made plentiful for everybody, and everybody contributes their share to the abundance.
Donna, Andy has
a different mindset in terms of what are our goals. Someone has a hand up.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Can you unmute, please?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to reflect on that, if I may, and hearing much that resonates for me. And generations of oppression. My background from Ireland is 800 years of state oppression towards the Irish. And when they went to America during the Civil War, you had family members made to fight each other on different sides. Because of systemic issues, because of the nature of extractive systems that perpetuates the poor and people of all colours against each other instead of uniting. And it feels that this goes on around the world. The United Nations said this year 115 million people have been displaced around the world. So we are perpetuating these stories on a grand level, on a world global level. And so I'm aware through the neuroscience of this, with the work of people like Sarah Payton, who's an MVC trainer, that the nature of trauma, it's stored in our brain in the amygdala. So it isn't happening in the past. It's not something that's way back then. It is not time-stamped. It is always happening now and now again for us. So we need to address that as well. So the two, I feel, are intertwined. If we can work on that for ourselves, we can work for our family, for our neighbours, our communities, and build upon things from there. And yes, there is enough for everyone. There is enough to be in a state of abundance.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. And yeah, we carry this trauma in our bodies as well. We carry it in our bodies and we pass it on from one generation to the next. And my question is, what can we do right now to heal it? When I look at what is going on in the world, it looks to me like the human race is about to implode, and I'm very upset about it. Dr. Myers, you've got your hand up.
Yes, one of the things that we found interesting in our research are the use of peace circles that are going on through the Restorative Justice Project.
Okay.
And this is something that we are trying to encourage schools, families, and churches, communities to do. Peace circles come out of the indigenous culture of the Native Americans, of the Asians, of the Africans. And it's a way for people to be able to communicate without fighting and finding out ways to disagree peacefully. So I think we have to find some new cultural norms and highlight them and promote them. And if it's a peace circle or some way that people can sit down, if it's at a bar or a church or wherever it is, a bowling alley, and try to resolve their differences. We need to start using these techniques because what we're using is not working. You know, this guy who shot up Maine the other day, and he'd been fired from his job a few weeks ago. His girlfriend had busted up with him. He was having delusions. He was mentally ill, and they let him out of the facility. I mean, my goodness. So there have to be some better cultural approaches.
I agree.
And, you know, the European approach is you're right, I'm wrong. And so let's fight.
Yeah.
And that's not working.
No, it's the future of our species is in danger now. I think we're in serious danger right now. So it's like, what can we do today? So that's very helpful, Dr. Myers. Thank you very much for that. That's very helpful. Exploring peace circles and how we can use them. How we can use them in our families, in our homes, in our communities. That's a practical suggestion.
And if people go on our website, monthofnonviolence.org, and click on sign up, we have a book that several of our members wrote on conflict resolution. And it's very good. It's a guide to how do you do peace circles.
Excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, definitely gonna take a look at that.
Can you repeat the website, please?
www.monthofnonviolence.org. I'll put it in the chat room.
Thank you.
And people can download the book for free.
Oh, really? That's the right price as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'd be happy to pay for it, but free is my favorite price.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. These ladies that did this, who are members of our network, just really, they're so passionate about peace circles. And
that's wonderful. It's like I'm really passionate about NVC because I've seen the difference it can make. You know, I've seen the difference in myself, and my self-esteem just shot up as a result of that. And because of that, the way I interacted with other people was really affected in a positive way.
Right.
You know, when you feel good about yourself, then you're going to have a very different kind of interaction with people than if you don't feel good about yourself. It's as simple as that. And NVC really helped me with that. So I'm very passionate about that too. But so what do you guys think about what's happening in the world now? Let me have some thoughts about what's happening in the world right now and some feelings. How do you feel about it?
Well, one thing that I saw.
Oh yeah, Naima, when you're speaking, everybody, when you're speaking, can you just say your name, please? Thank you.
This is Naima. I don't know if I'm still on screen because I'm still trying to get our video image back on StreamYard and YouTube. But we actually the House of Abraham or something like that. It's a school that has been established by the Israelis and the Palestinians to teach children unity and peace. And so you have both.
Are you still kind of fading
after a common ancestor of both? Okay, I might get a little closer. Are you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So the school, I think it's the House of Abraham.
Okay, can't hear you, sorry.
That both Israelis and Palestinians have established. Have established to teach the children how to live together peacefully. And so it's putting something else into by children that they are family to each other. They are one with each other. They are not enemies to each other. So they will grow up with a different mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where the change begins. Now, the people who really want peace are supportive of the school because they see that's where the change comes. How you teach your children.
Yes.
And this is how changes come over time, even in the United States. It took a lot of effort, but all the efforts with everything from that, we're able to learn that they're fellow human beings, however different that they may look, whatever different culture they may have, whatever different language they may have. We are all one family. We're all one human family. And when we raise time, the policies that they create reflect that understanding. So that's really where the work has to be with those new minds coming into this world right now. Some of the old people, they're stuck in their ways. They can't perceive cooperation. They're still holding on to their old anger, their old resentments, their old desires for vengeance, and they won't let it go. So sometimes you have to just let the natural process of evolution take its course.
Yeah.
We're on this planet. Those who are on their way out, let them go and don't repeat what they did. Instead, create something different. The people who are doing that, we're going to see the fruits of that 10, 20, 30 years from now. We're going to see the world change because these are adults.
Sorry, you're still kind of fading in and out, Naima.
Okay, so I'm not sure. Do you still see me on the screen?
No, but I can hear you.
Okay. But
now I can't see you.
Okay, because I think what it is, I'm on one device, but I'm on two different platforms. So my device can be.
Your device is getting a little bit confused.
But
because it's having to be in two places at once.
Yes. Right, trying to be two places at once. But I think that there's a tremendous amount of hope, even with the war that's going on, because what our children are learning is that they don't want to be. That's what we learn from violence, that you don't like violence. You don't want to be violent. It's not fun. So even the worst of things teach a greater lesson. And if we're going to go back to any kind of scripture, even looking at biblical scripture, and people talk about Cain and Abel. Well, don't each other, so they won't hate each other. That's the lesson of that. Whether you believe the stories happen or allegory or whatever, what do you learn if you have one child that you're favoring and the other one becomes jealous and kills them? What do you learn from that? As a parent, you learn that you don't do that to your children. You make sure. We should be learning from every mistake we have made. What we're learning right now from the Palestinian and Israeli conflict is that you cannot be at peace as long as there is inequality. You cannot ever be at peace. You can't force people to accept the inequality.
It's a very harsh lesson to learn. But
But you can't make a group of people be non-human beings just to serve. You can't make that happen. You can't force that. It will not last. It will create violence. So we learn that. Then what we have to teach our children is to learn from our mistakes.
Right. Excellent. I wish that were happening.
Equal treatment, sharing, empathy, and all those things that actually bring peace, because we can use our mistakes to show them how to create something different. Right. And then we can begin to create. That's what they. And I believe it can be done here in America and China and Japan and Egypt and everywhere else in the world where people are in conflict. The children can be taught that this is a mistake we made and we're going to raise you in the way of peace.
Marshall Rosenberg was working with groups of Palestinians and groups of Israelis, and he wasn't getting anywhere. Marshall Rosenberg was the founder of Nonviolent Communication. He wasn't getting anywhere working with Israelis and Palestinians, so he decided to work with the children, and that's what he did, and that's where change is going to come. It's from the children who are learning MVC at a very, very young age. He said he's seen 4-year-olds do it. And I find that very inspiring. The problem I'm having with what's happening currently is that I don't think we've got 20 or 30 years. I think we've got maybe 20 or 30 months, and that is what really frightens me. I mean, the whole world basically, if the human race doesn't get its act together soon, my fear is that, we're not going to have any more time. We're basically out of time now. I don't know, does anyone else have thoughts about that?
So one of the things that bothers me about the Palestinian situation, we have all of these Christian people all over the world who claim that they are so religious. Jesus was a Palestinian Jew. We're talking about his homeland, West Bank, Nazareth, Jerusalem. We're talking about where Jesus was born and where he lived.
Yes.
So how can we be talking about sacred space around in different places and at the same time be sending bombs in on 1 million children who are basically his descendants? I don't get it.
I'm right there with you. I don't get it.
About greed, and it's always been about greed and benefiting the weapons manufacturers. That's who's getting wealthy. Absolutely. So we have to be wise enough to know that we're being played. Yeah. We're being manipulated to hate each other so that other people can. And when we realize this, we will choose to stop participating in any war efforts. And we'll be working with those who are advocating peace, because there are many, many, many of them all across the planet. We need to focus in on those and strengthen those efforts. Energy from people who are advocating war.
Absolutely.
In nonviolent communication, we say that everything we do in order to meet a need. And everything other people do, they're doing in order to meet a need. And, to me, what that's saying is basically everybody's innocent. Everyone's just trying to get their needs met. But the way that people are trying to get their needs met, that's the problem. That's what we call strategy. This business is about people bombing each other and these terrible atrocities. I don't know if these stories are even true, but I hear about these terrible atrocities every night on the news. And they're saying 40% of the people who are being wounded are children. And these children, they didn't ask to find themselves in a war situation, but that's where they are.
I sent you the Zoom link. I don't know.
So your thoughts, please, and thoughts about how we can turn this around. Because I think we're out of time, basically. But any thoughts about that? Or how we could turn this over? Could someone read out the chat, please? What's in the chat, because I can't access it right now.
Andy has his hand up.
Oh, Andy, okay, sorry, I didn't realize your hand was up. You need to unmute.
Scroll down.
That's from Kwame Sunhorse, Blueprint for Black Power among Amos Wilson Gaines.
Okay, Zelda, do you think you can mute yourself? Zelda, could you mute, please? But if you want to make a comment, then yeah, I want to hear it. But it's Andy's turn. Andy, was there something you wanted to share?
I find the news, what's happening in Palestine, really, truly harrowing. It's hard to comprehend that this is going on. And also there's a narrative that's been projected, particularly in the media, of division, of othering, of having alternative versions. And something I found with NVC that was very helpful for being able to appreciate what might be going on both sides is the idea of multi-partiality. And it's the idea that I will speak my truth to you, and I'll be willing to hear what's true for you. They don't have to be the same, but they're true
Right.
for each of us.
Right. So is this about listening to each other, being willing to listen to each other?
Being able to listen without necessarily agreeing with what you're hearing, to stay in that discomfort zone, and hearing what's alive and true for someone else. It doesn't have to be the same. Then dialogue can begin.
So is that actually happening? Are people actually doing that in that situation?
I know one or two NVC trainers who are over there. I've got an Israeli friend who's worked on both sides. It's tremendously difficult at the moment for that to continue, but they're doing the work on a small scale, and we're dealing with systemic issues. But all we can do is work with the people we know, and maybe that's enough as individuals, and we need to do more systemic work too.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I think personally we have to start on a small scale, but it doesn't have to end there. You know, we have to start with our own families and our own communities and with ourselves as individuals. This is where it starts. But personally, I don't believe it has to end there. Anyone else? Any thoughts about this? Going back to what Naima was saying a little while ago about greed and about the fact that we need to learn to share resources. Mickey Castan is a certified NVC trainer, very, very well-known certified trainer within NVC. And she did a series of blog posts, which I posted a couple of years ago, about the use of resources. And I've actually seen her do this, be in a situation where she was holding a workshop and working out how much people were happy to pay or not pay, and just negotiating and trying to work out a system that works for everybody, not a system, but an agreement that would work for everybody in that space. Some people paid more, some people paid less, people paid what they're happy to pay. And it's much less efficient than saying, right, this is what I'm charging, right? That would be really quick. You are willing to pay or you don't go to the event. But, you know, what she was doing was about coming from the heart. So it takes longer. It takes longer and it's not as efficient, but it's about addressing everybody's needs in this situation. And, you know, this is another practical thing we can do. As Naima says, we need to learn to share. That's what's going to change things. We need to learn to share.
Teaching will do is help them to make decisions from the heart. And that means the intention for every act is it's a collective consciousness. It's an understanding that what we're doing is enhancing all life. So
yes.
Once you think differently, then the systems you create will be different. That even means our monetary system will be different, because we will do things that we just basically attend to each other's needs without the profit motive, thinking that, well, I can only serve you if you can pay me. I can only heal you if you can pay me. I can only transport you if you can pay me. Than us making people suffer who don't have money. Everybody will get their needs met.
Yeah, I think we've got a bit of an echo. But
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different way of thinking and behaving, isn't it? That we're trying to address everybody's needs.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm on echo. I'm gonna try and mute myself so that I'm not echoing. Zelda, did you want to say something? Did you want to add something, Zelda? Zelda Speaks is from
I apologize. I'm trying to maneuver the two different platforms here and I still hear feedback, so I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Is this something you'd like to add to the conversation?
I'm enjoying the conversation, that's for sure. But right now I want to focus on getting rid of the echo. Oh, there's no echo. There's no echo. Can you hear?
Good point. Solved. Well done.
Oh, hallelujah. It's been one.
I bet.
Yeah.
Zelda is also from the Female Solution. She's one of my sisters of the microphone. So
And
welcome. Did you want to make a comment?
I think we're all headed in the right direction because of what we're talking about here today, because this is the beginning of how it can happen by us laying, I believe, as Baba Kwame Sunhorse said, I believe we're laying the groundwork for the next generation to do the work that needs to be, to join us in doing the work, because we can't do it alone. As Naima said, we're going to be leaving this planet, so we have to leave instructions for the next generation. And this is a smart, this is a above average group of young people under us, so they get it.
Okay.
They get it. So I think we'll be fine with a little more work and keep doing podcasts and shows like this to remind them of their responsibility to humanity. I think we'll be just fine. We just got to continue the work. We just can't let it drop off. So kudos to all of you who are on this call: Hattie Carlis, Dr. Stephanie Myers, and then all the others that I can't see. Tina's Otter. Oh, Tina, how about that? Paul and Tina and Andy, thank you all. And Michael Robinson, my brother from another mother. You're on. Are you in England too? Are you in London?
He's in Korea.
No, I'm in South Korea.
Real, wow, talk about international. Awesome, I love it. Okay, well, kudos to all of you. So keep up wherever you are. And you too, Andy.
And anybody who Zelda didn't mention, kudos to all of us.
Yes, because this
for taking the time out today to sit
can't wait on anybody else. Baba Kwame Sunhorse is calling me now. I guess he has something to say. Baba, I guess he'll call me back, Baba. I missed the FaceTime call. I think he may have had a comment, because there is somebody on the switchboard, Naima, and I'm not sure who that is. So I'm going to pull that up right quick and see if I can find out who that is. And I do believe that might be Baba Kwame. Baba Kwame Sunhorse, you're live on the air. Would you like to say something?
Well, yeah, but I can't hear it because I was watching you on YouTube and there's no sound. The pictures are there, but I can't hear nothing you're saying. What's the question? Okay,
I just unmuted it because we were having technical difficulties with.
Yeah, you were getting feedback.
Yeah, and I got that taken care of, and now you can't hear me on YouTube. So I am not the tech savvy person, but I can fumble my way and find things. So
yeah, because when you hit record, that's when you got to start getting the feedback.
I think that was I was already recording, so that must have been on the Zoom recording. Yeah. Okay, but
record both of them at the same time.
Okay, but while we have you on the line, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I'll make a comment.
Okay, go right ahead.
Well, this is a very perfect topic for this Hunter full moon eclipse that just happened around 2:10 Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're discussing, and what each person there in the UK, there on the planet, are we looking at how do we change what we see as war? And the first part has to be is that the war that we have on our inside, if we do not understand how to have peace within, peace outside of you can't happen.
Say that.
So true. It's so true.
So what we have to look at is, we're talking about healing the children and parenting, but have we healed the inner child within each of us? Because there has been, since our conception, those energies of war, pestilence, and violence on this planet. And we are inundated with that. Mm-hmm. How do we change that genetic programming is first and foremost important in order to change anything else outside of us. So we have to begin within the inner journey, the humanistic part of education is understanding that we are all human beings on this planet. We come in a multitude of colors, but we're all human. And the sun, which rises on every part of this planet, shines light because there's love and life from the sun. And how can we as humans, the last thing created by the Creator, be so deaf on each other?
See, that's why we always need to sit at the feet of the elders, because this kind of wisdom you can't get in a book. And if you put it in a book, chances are they may. Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but we are each a book. We came already programmed. We came to this planet programmed with a purpose that we chose to, a male and a female, to come and to grow into this vessel in order to do the purpose in which Creator allowed us to come back to the planet to do. This is why we have to start from the inner. We think with our heart. The brain is nothing but an air traffic controller for the rest of the brains in the body.
Well, all righty now. That's a new way of looking at things. I've never thought of that. Oh, excuse me. This is why it is crucial.
And one more thing, because we're all living here on this earth, and it's very powerful the way the Creator created this. The earth has the word it has the word heart, it has the word hear, it has the word ear, it has the word tear, and it has the word of art. We have to learn to hear with our heart, with that one ear, the art of living, to stop the creating the tears that are shedded by the death we bring to each other.
You know I'm taking notes, right? Yeah.
That's why I'm speaking it. You know, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And if you even go online and study heart math, they have found that the heart is 550 megahertz more powerful than the brain. The heart knows before the brain does, because the heart is what pumps and began your life. For you to be on this earth, you had to have a heart to be on the earth. That's why it's in the word.
Never looked at it like that. Wow.
Have you got any suggestions about what we can do right now in practical terms?
What can we do right now in practical terms, Baba Kwame? Did you hear?
Okay, and the word "and now" is a very good part, because in the word "now" is the word "own," "now," and "win" or "one." How are we going to be the winners? How have we won this new life, this new day? And how do we own who we are, the source of Creator? Because we stay in now. Past, present, and future is right now. Yes, we have a foundation, but we don't know what the next hour is going to bring.
No, we don't.
So where are we at? We have to be in right now what we're discussing. And even when this program started, it's in the past. What I started speaking on is in the past. What we're dealing with is right now. What do you do with you, within you? How do you own who you are?
How do you own who you are? That's a question for all of us.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, brother.
Thank you, Baba Kwame Sunhorse.
Thank us.
Thank us.
We're all united spirits. That's why we have to stop saying you, giving power away, and say us, because we're united in spirit. We're all
united in spirit.
And so it is.
Yes. You know, one of the...
Can someone please read out what's in the chat?
Let me see if I can pull up what's in the chat. Let's see, chat, where are you?
I got one. I got one from Baba Kwame's Sunhorse.
I think from the Zoom chat, you might be able.
Oh, okay. From the Zoom chat, okay.
Yeah, my iPad won't let me Pull it up.
Zoom chat, where are you? Okay.
See at the
It's at the
bottom of
bottom.
where it says more.
Yeah, I just
If you
clicked
click
on
on
it.
more,
Oh,
then you
chat,
see
I
the
just
chat.
did. Chat reviews coming up right now as I speak. As soon as my computer wakes up from taking her nap.
I think we're sharing the same computer, but mine is probably out for the count right now.
Okay. I just pulled her up. What, girlfriend? Why are you not? You don't want us to see what you're talking about? Dr. Stephanie Myers, great meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
There
Uh-oh.
you go. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great meeting. We need to promote cultural change, peace circle,
Wonderful,
and other interventions. That was from Dr. Stephanie Myers. Hattie Carlis says, thank you, Andy. And Andy says, can I recommend Sarah Payton's new book with Dr. Roxy Manning, which I am supporting, The Anti-Racist Heart. It delivers a unique path, it delivers a unique path for self-compassion and anti-racist activism from two renowned NVC trainers. Is that nonviolent communication trainers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on Amazon.com, anti-racist heart, self-compassion activists. And I don't know if I click that, what will happen. It's not showing up on the screen, so we won't worry about it. Oh, there it is. And Hattie typed in monthofnonviolence.org. I will be adding this information on my blog, zeldaspeaks.wordpress.com. So I will pull up this shortly, and I'll be adding a lot of notes from this so that people can see, because not everyone was able to listen or tune in. So we want them to be able to have that available to them afterwards. So
definitely.
Zelda, I think that your comments have really been great. And I think everyone has been great. But all of us have to keep in mind, violence begins at the kitchen table. Conflict begins at the kitchen table. And our children are learning from us, the anger. I've had young people tell us during these years that we've been doing this month of nonviolence that their parents are mad at their siblings. Their parents are mad at the neighbors. Their parents are mad at the people at work, that they're co-workers. They're mad, mad, mad. And they're also upset with them and their brothers and sisters. And in the morning when they get up, mama's a single mom, which 70% of all of our kids now are born to single moms. If mom's a single mom, she's trying to get out of the house to work. She's stressed out. And that they talk about how the moms really are just trying to get out of there and get them dressed and out the door. Stress, stress, stress. And stress leads to anger. And like Andy said, sometimes anger gives you energy. And here in DC, we're having a violence epidemic. And these young people are fighting, fighting, fighting. And they're enjoying it. They're feeling like it's giving them their masculinity or their womanhood or whatever. I don't know. But we've got to change the kitchen table. And parents are going to. We had a 12-year-old at a school in Philadelphia, and his mom and dad were fighting like they always did. He got in between them and said, we need to have a peace circle, mommy and daddy.
Wow.
Sit down and talk. 12 years old. They were so shocked. They sat down with him and they worked it out.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Now you talk about violence at home. Wow, I just never thought of it being worded like that, to be at the kitchen table. Now I have something very interesting here. You asked me, Zhana, to read the notes, and it says, "Hi, I'm an AI assistant helping Tina Jones take notes for this meeting. Follow along the transcript here." When I saw that, my antennas went up, because we have that discussion on Monday Morning Mindfulness on AI. And I've even had this discussion on whether or not we should use it as a teaching tool. But then we had Baba Kwame Sunhorse come on and talk about AI. And I'm like, I just don't know if that's something that I want to investigate right now. I'm still in between yes and no. So Baba, are you still Baba Kwame?
Yes, and I thank her for Kitchen Table University, because the thing that we have to use in looking at it is that table was a very important part all the way back into the time of the Egyptians. The symbol for Hotep or for peace was a table with a loaf of bread on it. We have to feed the spirit, mind, and the body. And that's where we did our most learning in the kitchen, at the kitchen table.
Okay.
You did your homework. You sat there with other women or men playing cards at the kitchen table was a place in which you were nourished. You were fed mind, body, and spirit. And so what we're having to do is that we have to go back and look at our ancestral ways in which worked and bring them forward as tools to continue to build the future that our ancestors did not know, but wished and prayed for us to be able to fulfill our mission.
Absolutely. But brother, what I've been hearing from the young people is they don't have a kitchen table anymore. One of the members of our organization works with kids who are in probation and juvenile delinquency, and the kids have not had a dinner with a relative for months.
Wow.
Right.
Not a dinner, not a lunch, not a breakfast with a relative for months.
Right.
Wow.
That's what,
because the parent has stopped the tradition. That was a tradition that you sat down on a Sunday meal with the gospel bird, and you sat there and you fed mind, body, and spirit. And we are the ones who allowed our children to have apartments in our homes, to be able to go to the microwave, put their meal in there, go upstairs to their room and turn on their computer.
That's right.
Our children, we are parents. How do we parent? Is really looking at how do we do our job as adults.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna is there anything else in the chat? Because we've got 9 minutes left and I've got one topic I'd still like to raise.
Well, we only have one, and it's from Dr. Stephanie Myers. Thank you, Dr. Stephanie Myers. Our AI workshop conducted during the month of nonviolence, and she sent a YouTube link.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Myers. The final thing I want to raise, which I raised earlier, was that Naima, can you tell us a bit about HWPL? I can never remember what it stands for. I know it's something about holiness and light or something, but especially since Brother Michael is in South Korea right now. Can you talk about this a bit, please?
Yeah, I think he should definitely connect with them. It stands for a heavenly culture, world peace, restoration of light. And I became aware of this organization, I think back in 2015, I think. And I was amazed at this major global peace movement happening all over the world that everybody else is participating in, except the United States. We had, and I've been to South Korea, I think 3 or 4 times, and participating in this organization. And I did a blog about it for the Nonviolent Blogging Carnival. The behavior of the people, it was impeccable. I mean, there was no, for the 5 days I was there among this organization during this Global Peace Summit, the behavior was just amazing. Nobody angry, nobody cursing, nobody insulting anybody. Everyone was treating each other with such love, such service, happy to serve. Each person who went, each delegate, they went and had their own personal assistant that made sure that their stay was comfortable, made sure their room accommodations were comfortable, made sure they got to their meals and to the meetings. And it was just amazing, the level of cooperation. And this is a heavenly culture when there's only love, no condemnation, no judgment, no meanness. You can relax because nobody's going to say anything to hurt your feelings. I mean, it was just an atmosphere that people chose to create by the way they behaved. And experiencing that gave me such tremendous hope, and knowing that this is possible to live every day everywhere on the planet. It's possible. So what's the difference between these people and everybody else? A basic decision. I'm choosing to add peace. I'm choosing to be peace. And when each of us chooses that, we add to the collective. So the answer isn't trying to change somebody else or condemn somebody else or punish somebody else. The answer is to be the change you want to see. We've heard that saying. That's what it means. So being in an atmosphere where you have a collective consciousness of service, of respect, of kindness, of empathy, then what manifests is an environment where there is not only peace, but there is joy to meet people and to become instant friends, because all of you know that you all agree that this is the agenda that you're working with. Then no one has suspicion or anger. It's just a different way of thinking. You're not worried about somebody's going to steal your things, because that just was not the consciousness there. You know, and just to live in that environment for 5 days was life-changing.
So if Michael wanted to get in touch with them, how could he get in touch with them?
I believe the website is hwpl.kr. I think that is the website. I'm going to check, but that would have all of the contact information, and have chapters all over the world. So of course the headquarters is there in South Korea, where Chairman Man-hee Lee, he's a Korean War veteran who was inspired to create this organization based on the devastation of war that he experienced, and he wants to create a world where that doesn't exist anymore. But there are many organizations around the world where people have been inspired to. So we just have to find each other and strengthen each other. That's all. Yes. There are more people who want peace than who want war. So we are the majority, and we have to know that we're the majority. So when we see the global majority that we are, people who are choosing to live in peace, then whatever platforms we have, whether it's this platform, all our radio, blogs, and everything else, we have to keep expounding on this message that we're the majority and we are changing the world. And it is happening, and it's going to continue to happen, because this is what we're going to teach our children and demonstrate to them.
We're going to be cut off in 60 seconds.
So in a couple of seconds. So I just leaves it left to me to thank my beautiful panel, Andy Philpott, Michael Robinson, and Naima Latif, and all the people who joined us in our audience. Thank you so much for all of your contributions and just for turning up and being here. Thank you so much. It's been delightful. Again, I still feel very, very privileged to be able to hold this forum, and looking forward to doing some more in the future. You guys, you have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Beautiful rest of the night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great privilege. I know you can't see me, but I'm bowing right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Zhana. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you for our host from London, England, Zhana. Thank you so much for having this Peace Summit on the.
Listen to her every first Saturday on the Female Solution Global Radio.
12
my show.